How can I get shots that look like they were captured from a small animal's point of view? That's a challenge that I ran into this year. I'm shooting a documentary about a scientist that studies snakes on a tallgrass prairie, and I wanted to immerse the viewer in the snake's world for just a few shots. Let's go figure out how to make that happen. My challenge for this project was that my budget didn't include cash for some kind of exotic solution for getting these shots. I'd considered using my slider and renting a probe lens, but the really linear movement and short travel distance didn't look very snake-like. I thought about custom designing a wheeled ground level drone, but remembered my degree is in art, not in mechanical engineering. Plus, the parts started to get really expensive really fast. Then I remembered that I had a small RC truck. Maybe with the things that I had in my studio, I could come up with a solution. Right after getting the truck, I'd try to mount an action camera to it using a suction cup mount attached to the hood. It kind of worked, but it made the truck really top heavy, and the point of view was too high for a snake's view of the world. I looked through my collection of mounting solutions and accessories for action cameras and realized that using a pair of extension arms plus an adhesive mount would let me hang an action camera off the front, give me some flexibility in the exact height of the camera, and hopefully keep the center of gravity low enough to not have the whole rig tip over on the hills or when I turn it in the field. Here's a quick build video of me getting it all put together. Okay, there's a few parts that go into this build. First are several parts that I got out of two different Neewer kits. This component, which is an extension arm that's curved, a two-sided adhesive, and a mounting plate. This is actually two pieces. This is the part that we're going to stick down to the RC vehicle, and then another part that slides in. They are really firm, like that. So this will all get cobbled together. And finally, my Ace Pro 2 action camera from Insta360. And I suppose that wasn't finally. This is an Axial SCX10 Basecamp RC truck. So first thing I want to do a little test fitting, a little assembly. This worked earlier, but it was kind of a pain to put together. This was the biggest pain, getting this lined up. Came out of two different kits, so it really doesn't want to play nice, but it'll go. Typically, you only have to screw these in at the very end, but I found that I just couldn't force it, and I didn't want to break anything. So there we go. I'll leave it a little bit loose. It's not very loose, but that'll get us where we need to go. Second joint's still a little bit loose. And mount the camera kind of upside down here. There we go. All right. So when I test fit this earlier, I got it to fit on top here, with this just resting kind of on that front brush guard. It's made out of cheap plastic, so I don't know how much it's going to guard, but I think that'll do good. And I'll probably end up lashing the bracket down to this later to kind of stabilize it. But that looks really good. And it kind of overhangs. If I push it back, let's see. That'll still give me enough room. So I think that's pretty good. So now we'll take this off, start doing the actual mounting. A million turns to do that. Okay. So scoot this out of the way for a sec. It's kind of got a little bit of a curve to it. Don't know if you can see that. So does the base. I think red side up seems to work okay, so we will try that. See how coordinated I am. This always takes longer than I want it to. Okay, there we go. Oh, ha. See if I can glue it to my thumbs here. Okay. Ah, all right. Always a little more of a pain than I want it to be. I'm going to give that a good squeeze. That seems pressed on there pretty good. I'll peel off the other side that was really excited to come off. Get the truck back out. We'll try to get this centered best we can. There we go. It's a little harder to squish down because there's some flex in the top plate here. But that seems to be on there. Yeah. Picks up the whole assembly pretty good. This is probably going to be even more challenging than it was before since now it's mounted. So harder to look into. Let's see. Usually flip this thing on its side, but might be necessary. Oh, yeah, way off. There we go. All right, that is threading, so we'll get that attached. Left everything else attached to it, so that should be the last step. All right, flip it back right side up. Turn that away. And take that down just a little bit. Yeah, I tore it right off the top. Let's see if we can stick that back down. I'm a little worried about that. There we go. Yeah, seems to have adhered back down. We'll see how durable this is in the field. Camera's vaguely pointed the right way. When I get out in the field, I may put a pad behind this, and I may lash this down if it moves at all. I think this is essentially an RC truck camera drone. So it is super hot today, so I'm going to wait until tomorrow to take it out. It's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit today. But tomorrow we'll take it out and see what kind of footage we can get from this. This action camera has a horizon lock feature that was really handy. I set the camera to maximum stabilization and a 45-degree angle horizon lock to keep the view flat while I drive the truck around. These are both important as the truck was designed to be a fun toy, not a super stable video platform. I mentioned in the build video that I had waited a day for the weather to get cooled down a little bit. We've had temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius over the last few days, and it was supposed to be cooler when I shot the outdoor test. But by mid-afternoon, it was back up to that heat again. I went out anyway to get some test shots and some footage for this video. I also mentioned tying the front of the extension arm down in the build video. I ended up using a rubber band wrapped around the bumper and then around the extension arm, and this worked great for the video tests. Before getting too brave in the deep grasses that make the tallgrass prairie a tallgrass prairie, I decided to start with a section of grass that had been freshly mowed right around the parking lot. Everything went really well, and the truck had no problem zipping around on the grass. There's a steeper grade on part of that area of the prairie, and there was no issues with the vehicle feeling unstable. But with the grass so short, it didn't really look like a snake's eye view of the landscape either, but I was hopeful that getting into a bit taller grass would change that. I did notice that the extra weight of the camera did cause the tires to rub against the frame a little bit with really hard turns, but avoiding turning the controls to the extreme position helped fix that. Next, I walked up a fire break path that's mowed a little less aggressively than the area right around the parking lot. Here, the footage was really starting to show promise. Again, there was no stability issues. It took a little bit of practice to remember to reverse the steering input when I was driving back towards myself, but it got easier with practice. Next, I wandered up a hillside to drive around some of the test plots the staff keep in that area. Here, I really started to love the footage I was getting. I drove in everything from the deep grass paths like this one, or this one, over the deep grass by the edge of a test plot and into the quite barren, thanks to the heat and lack of rain, plot itself, and then back out. The footage really immersed me in the ground level view and was exactly what I was looking for. I'll talk a bit about editing the footage when we're done with the examples here. The final bit of test footage was driving it all the way back to the parking lot. Between the heat and lugging my other camera and tripod, as well as the controller for the RC truck, I didn't feel like awkwardly trying to hold everything as I was walking back to the lot. The truck was able to go faster than a moderate walking pace, so I could keep it in front of me and walk at really whatever pace I wanted to walk. I was kind of surprised that it could keep up with me on such rough terrain. It even has 39% battery left when I shut it off. Impressive after the amount of time I was out testing it. I shot all of the test footage in the default profile. I don't plan on using the footage in extended clips, as action camera footage always looks like action camera footage to me, no matter how much work I do in post. Because the camera is hanging upside down off the front, the footage needs to be rotated 180 degrees in post. I did that in DaVinci Resolve, and it could also be done after transferring the footage over to your phone using the Insta360 app. For me, this was an inexpensive build. I already had all of the individual components, but if I had to go out and buy everything, it would end up costing roughly what a lower-end aerial drone would cost, give or take. So it's still fairly affordable if you need this kind of footage. I hope you found this build useful. That's all for today, and good luck in your art journey. We'll see you next time.